name and address for the minutes. And with that, let us call a roll.
David Borsak, Ed Bowen.
Here.
Jeffrey Tomes.
Here.
Thomas Voitek.
Here.
John Hintz.
Here.
Steve Cummings. Kathleen Propp.
Here.
John Kiefer.
Here.
Robert Weigert.
Here.
Michael Ford.
Here.
All right, let us go on to approving the minutes from June 20th. Do we have any additions, corrections, deletions to those minutes?
Move approval. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion clearly passes. Let's move on to item number 1. Accept drainage easement at 751 South Washburn Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The City of Oshkosh is requesting acceptance of a drainage easement to allow for continued storm drainage from the subject property and surrounding properties and to provide access to the existing drainage swale. The subject property is 5.66 acres in size and is developed with an 80-unit apartment complex and associated parking areas. There's an existing drainage swale located along the east property line on the subject property that conveys stormwater to Abbey Avenue from the apartment complex's private stormwater management system, as well as from adjacent and surrounding properties. Reconstruction has been proposed for the parking lot at Fire Station 16 at 725 South Washburn Street, and storm drainage will continue into and through the swale from the site. The city's engineering division is requesting an easement at the subject site to allow for continued drainage from all properties through the existing swale and to provide access to the city in order to inspect, maintain, and repair the swale when needed. The easement will be 20 feet wide, running 725 feet to Abbey Avenue along the east property line. The Department of Public Works will work with the property owner to have appropriate easement documents signed and recorded with the Winnebago County Register of Deeds. Here's the easement document. And staff recommends approval of the acceptance of the proposed drainage easement as requested.
All right, technical questions? Seeing none, anyone here from the public to speak to this item today? Okay, back to the commission.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Call the roll.
Propp.
Aye.
Kiefer.
Aye.
Weigert.
Aye.
Ford.
Aye.
Bowen.
Aye.
Tomes.
Aye.
Hintz.
Aye.
Voitek.
Aye.
Motion carried 8-0.
And moving on to item number 2, residential design standards variance request for the modification of one window on the west side elevation of property located at 614 West 11th Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant's requesting approval of a variance from the city's residential design standards to permit the reorientation of one window from horizontal to vertical on the west side elevation of a single-family home located at 614 West 11th Avenue. The subject property is a residential lot, approximately 7,500 square feet in area, and contains a 1,520 square foot two-story single-family structure, which was built prior to 1920. The surrounding area contains predominantly single-family uses with a scattering of two-family uses to the northwest and south, and a mix of commercial and service uses to the east along Ohio Street. The subject property is zoned SR9 single-family residential district, with the east side zoned, or east of the property zoned UMU urban mixed use. And here's an aerial photo of the site, and the pointer is pointing at the subject window in question. On April 27th, the City of Oshkosh Inspection Services Division sent the owners a code violation notice after observing a window had been replaced on the west facade with a different orientation. No building permit was obtained for the work. Afterwards, the owners contacted planning services to discuss possible options, which resulted in applying for a design standard variance. Up on the screen, I have a photo showing the new window that was replaced. Again, this is the west facade of the property. The original window was, second here. The original window was a 2.5 foot wide by 5 foot tall, 12.5 square foot vertical orientated window. and it was replaced with this horizontal, vertical orientated window, which is 6 foot by 2 foot and a 12 square feet in area. The subject window is located in the home's living room, situated on the west side, approximately 19 feet from the front plane of the house. The new window is sized 4.6% smaller than the original, which falls into the limits of window replacement. However, this request is for the reorientation of the window, which changes the architectural character of the home. On the right side, this is a view looking out from the inside of the home. I apologize for the black and white and poor quality, but this is, again, located within the living room of the subject home. The applicants purchased the home in September of 2014 and experienced severe leakage from the previous window, which damaged drywall installation and carpeting. The applicants replaced the window and repaired the damage caused by the leak, but in doing that, they changed the orientation of the window from horizontal to vertical. The change was made to allow them or provide them with more usable wall space in the living room and add some privacy from the neighboring home's living room. And I can show you that on the next slide here. Okay, on the left side, that's the original window orientation. And the applicant notes that you can see the water damage underneath the window, which resulted in damage to the inside of the home. And on the right side is a picture of the neighboring home, which has a window directly opposite of the subject site's home, and the property owners had concerns with privacy with the location of the neighboring window. Staff evaluated the closing the window and the impact on the design of the home in regard to the purpose and intent of the design standards as they relate to preserving the home's architectural integrity, as well as potential impact on adjacent properties. The neighborhood character and the curb appeal, including the neighborhood character and curb appeal of the block. Staff's in the opinion that the modification window will not negatively impact the architectural style of the house, especially if they replace an additional window. Let me go back one slide. The petitioner stated that they intend to replace another window in this back portion of the house that's going to be the same orientation of the window that was replaced. And in addition, the petitioner is planning on residing the entire home, which will give the entire house a uniform look and remove the, I guess you can call them the old window scars left over from the old window. Staff recognizes there is a uniqueness or hardship with the house with the location of the neighboring home's window, reducing the privacy one generally would expect in their own home. And staff believes that the purpose and intent of the design standards is being upheld and it achieves the goal of the property owner, which is to add more usable space for the homeowners and to provide some additional privacy. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the variance to permit the orientation of one window from horizontal to vertical with the following finding: that the standards do not apply to this particular project because the reorientated window will not adversely affect the structure's architectural design, the neighborhood character, or curb appearance of the block.
Thank you, Jeff. Technical questions, John?
Just so I understand this properly, it says reorientation from horizontal to vertical. Would horizontal be the way it is right now? And
Yes.
vertical?
No, it's going the other way.
I'm just trying to make sure, because horizontal sounds like it would be a sideways window and vertical would be a
Right.
vertical window. So is this worded improperly and we need to fix that? That's,
Yes, I must have screwed that. Thanks for catching
We're
that.
going from vertical to horizontal.
Yeah.
so that, otherwise we're telling them to change the
Oh,
window.
there we go. Mm-hmm.
Potentially.
Yes. No. Sorry about that.
Okay. Other technical questions? Mike and then Jeff.
If they would have
Yeah,
filed
must have.
a permit in the first place, what would the process have been? I assume you would have caught this then?
Yes, they might have changed their mind with reorientating the window, or they still would have had this option to go through with the variance request.
Jeff?
A couple things. In this style of house, you say it's not changing the
architectural, substantially changing architectural, the style of house? Are there horizontal windows in these kinds of styles of houses?
The petitioner did provide a photo of a house, a couple houses down, I believe, of another home that reorientated one window. It's on page 12 of your staff report.
Yeah, but that was probably
not-
done. I'm asking if it's,
Oh.
if it's in line with the architectural style of the house, because we're finding that this doesn't, substantially violate the architectural design.
It's not, it's not predominant. When these houses were built, these horizontal windows, it was a different time. I think when Jeff was saying, when he looked at it from the curb appeal standpoint, he was looking at supporting it, the reorientation of that side window doesn't impact the curb appeal, the front facade. I think that was really what he was aiming at, and the side was just kind of, we, the staff didn't feel that it had a architectural impact overall.
Yeah, when you're on the street, it's barely visible. You have to get pretty close to the house to even see that.
If they add a second window, I mean, this is one of the things that Borsick talked about, death by 1,000 cuts. Now all of a sudden you got this one, and I assume that they have to come back, or I assume they will come back to get approval for the second one?
No, they can just pull a building permit. Anything beyond 20 feet from the front plane is exempt from design standards.
They're just pulled into this one by.
Yeah,
1
by
foot.
1 foot. So if
I
they're,
guess Jeff we couldn't say, it's right at the very limit of, if it was over another foot, we wouldn't be here in the first place.
And then the last thing, and it's not more a technical question, this is about the third or fourth one that we've gotten where the people have already done the work. And now we're sitting there going, yeah, okay. How do we get better communication out to the public? Because I can understand that maybe somebody decides, hey, they want to fix something in their house, and they fix it, and they don't necessarily understand that they can't just fix a window without a building permit.
I think,
How do we get that more out? Because this has been, I mean, we've only had this in place for, what, a year and a half?
yeah, and I believe all
Well,
these,
it's not-
Maybe the second or third one where the person's already done the work.
It's beyond that. I mean, a permit's required, period. It's a new, when you reorient the window, a permit is required, whether it complies with zoning, that's another set of standards, but a permit's required. People doing work without permits, not knowing, has been probably an issue that communities have had since permits have been required. So it's just, I mean, we try and do the best job that we can of getting information out that permits are required, but
I guess this could be, what I'm thinking of is this could be one, when we send out that tax notice, that we put something in there. We've been putting some informational things in those tax notices because it is going to homeowners. And that we put something in a tax notice to say, hey, look, these are the, things that you require a building permit, just to reinforce that periodically.
we do that periodically. Getting those tax bills and water bills is tough because there's always a big line in there, but I mean, it's something that needs to be done, and we try not to be punitive on it. I mean, we can double permit fee, we can fine, we can do all those things. At the end of the day, we really want compliance. That's our biggest thing here, so it's great. I mean, we still do have to find better ways to market. One of the strategic plan goals that we have that we're looking at is ways to better educate and tell people about the code. So you bring up something that's relevant, you bring up something that we have to figure out a better way of doing. It's one of our strategic plan goals.
Thank you.
other technical questions, John?
As far as adversely affecting architectural design, does not the big black open spot without any
No, they just,
siding?
they will be replacing the
Will
siding
be
on the
replacing.
entire home.
Okay, 'cause I didn't see that
As well as, I believe, a window is bordered up further back, and that would be, that would be,
That's gonna be removed. That was done during the previous renovation by,
Okay.
I was just,
She didn't
or-
make
oh, I'm sorry, I'm
I was just
sorry.
looking at what the staff was recommending approval for, and I didn't see that.
yeah, he mentioned it in his
John, I did
report.
make a note of the one thing we do need to know is, or we do need a condition on that the siding occur within X amount of time to make sure that we're holding it to a standard, because We can't have that thing held out for 5, 10 years, so just so you know.
Other technical questions? Okay, anyone here from the public speak to this item today? If you'd like to, speak up, step up to the mic and tell us your story.
Ray Reinders, 614 West 11th Avenue. That is my and my wife's property. The questions are valid. The building permit was not pulled. It was the weekend before we came back from vacation. We had a puddle of water sitting in the living room, carpeting wall and whatnot. The window obviously let loose. I don't know to what degree, but that's not my scope. We put the window in. We had intentions on going through with the siding anyways. It was basically a call to our go-to guy, in which said 4 to 6 weeks. And with a leaking home, how can you sustain? So we made that decision, and obviously going through the process, we're well aware of the permitting. We put for the first time in that 130-year-old house a concrete driveway with 43 or 46 yards of concrete with a permit, a garage, electrical service to that garage, internal. It was corrected. So we're doing our best to make that little gem right there our home. We absorbed that rear window, which is boarded up when we purchased it from Deltrit. Obviously, that's going to be going away. The horizontal window that is currently in the home will be replaced, or that's going to be staying. The window that is nearest to the road on 11th Avenue, that would be the one right there, which is going to match the other window that we've replaced. So we will pull a permit on that prior to resiting of the home.
So I'll have to circle back to that, because
Under the impression one of these windows was going to be replaced. Okay.
What we wrote up in our conveying back to the board here was the window in the back will be taken out. So the one that's boarded up to the left of where the cursor is on the prompter right there, that window, if you continue to go to the north, there you go. It's white. Keep going.
Thing doesn't work very well.
Other direction, all the way to the rear of the house. There you go.
There,
That
there.
window right there, that one comes out. That right now is nothing more than a piece of plywood with white paint on it, and that's how I purchased the property. Did not know that was a violation, but it is. And we'll take care of that with residing of the entire home.
Before you go, any questions for the petitioner?
well, I think we need to circle back to that.
Yes.
So,
Well, is it,
well, I mean, just for a point of clarification, I think Jeff was under the impression that one of the other windows towards the back was going to get that sideways orientation. What I'm hearing right now is the gentleman's going to come back and want to reorient the front window right there that Jeff is on. So I think there was some miscommunication between the parties. So just so you're aware, parties, he wants to come back and reorient that window. Now, we haven't gone through the whole, the analysis and that process, but be prepared for that. It sounds like that's coming back.
And if, again, we're willing to work with, obviously, the city, it's not a showstopper for us. It was more of a following what the rule is now, making sure that we had proper windows for the first 20 feet matching. So we were willing to go to that level to match the windows on the west side of that house with the 20-foot offset off the front of that home to match what the one is. So if it is an eyesore to somebody that we right now have a horizontal and a vertical alignment right there, we would be willing to put 2 horizontals to make it look right.
All right.
Thank you.
thank you very much, sir. Oh, do you have a question, Kat?
Well, I think Darren said that, I'm not sure what the staff is gonna recommend on that second window. They put out a good case for leaving your horizontal window the way it is, from my perspective. But that's close to the front of the house. And my gut instinct, not going through a staff report, is that I like it vertical in the front because it's close to the front of the house. And the other one is, as they say, is just right on the line where we don't care. Well, that's not true. We care, but we aren't as concerned about the back half of the house. After the first 20 feet.
The ordinance.
And that's close. The ordinance.
Ordinance doesn't.
All right, the ordinance
Kathy,
is
you
not
may
concerned.
care. The ordinance
Um,
does not care.
And that's one reason to support leaving your horizontal window, is because it's close to it's borderline. But the other one is something that staff is probably gonna want to discuss with you, and maybe we like it the way it is, if that suits your purposes. If it doesn't, then come back with whatever.
It obviously will save us money, but if we don't have to take it out of there. But again, as I recorded in that document, we're trying to make it a pleasing area. Not only for us, it's not just suited for us, but to match, based on what I've read through the documents on the first 20 feet from the house.
No, and I think what the plan commission was looking at is, if you look at the horizontal towards the back, it's further away, it's further towards the back, so it's kind of out of the public realm. The closer you get to the front, that traditional horizontal window is kind of more in keeping, so.
Vertical.
Yeah.
Jeff?
Yes.
Have to do a workshop on this.
Vertical window, more in keeping kind of with the design in the area, so I think there's a preference. Maybe we can talk about it, but I think from what I'm hearing, keeping that window the way it is, I don't think there's any issue from a plan commission standpoint or staff standpoint. But if you want to go down there, if you want to talk with Jeff some more, you can always give him a call and we'll chat about it.
Absolutely.
All right.
Any other questions?
I think we're good.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else here to speak to this item today? Seeing none, back to the commission for discussion.
Approve it the way it's written here so far.
Can I add a condition, I believe?
We're friendly with the condition, siding completed within the timeframe, whatever you guys want to set for the timeframe.
Okay, so motion to approve with the condition of siding being completed within a year. Okay. Any question on the motion? Okay, call the roll.
Cummings,
Aye.
Crop,
Aye?
Kiefer,
Aye.
Weigert,
Aye.
Ford,
Aye.
Bowen,
Aye.
Holmes, Hintz,
Aye.
Wojtek.
Aye.
Motion carried 9-0.
Moving on to item number 3, residential design standards variance request to permit an addition exceeding 50% of the principal structure's existing footprint and exceeding the height of the highest roof ridge line at 1720 Sanders.
Thank you. The applicant is requesting design standards variances for both the area of the proposed addition, as it will exceed 50% of the principal structure's existing footprint, and the height of the addition, as it will exceed the highest roof ridgeline of the principal structure. The subject property is 0.86 acres in size and has a one-story single-family residential structure, which was built in 1970, as well as a detached garage. The area is predominantly single-family uses and is zoned SR5. And here's a view of the subject property, an aerial view, and it is located at the north end of Sanders Street. And here's the site plan, and the shaded area will be the addition. The existing single-family home is 3,419 square feet in area, and the addition will be 2,560 square feet in area on the east side of the existing principal structure, and the addition will include an indoor pool area and attached garage area. A design standards variance is necessary, as this addition will be about 74% of the area of the principal structure's existing footprint. And here is the proposed front elevation on the top of the page here. The peak height will be 18 feet 2 inches, which will be above the upper windows, and that will exceed the highest roof ridge line of the existing house by 2 feet. In their application, the petitioner notes that a unique circumstance exists in that the subject property is substantially larger than most residential properties within the city. They also state that the proposed design of the addition blends in well with the existing house by utilizing the same or similar materials to that of the existing structure. They also feel that the clear story windows are necessary in order to allow the south exposure to naturally light, heat, and ventilate the pool area. Staff believes that the addition as proposed would not have an adverse impact on the neighborhood character or curb appeal of the block, as the architectural integrity of the original home will not be negatively affected, as the addition will be consistent with the style and materials of the original structure. The design standards seem to cause an unnecessary hardship, as the proposed indoor pool likely would not be feasible if the addition is not to exceed 50% of the principal structure. And an indoor pool is a relatively unusual feature that requires the additional window area, which causes the addition to exceed the height of the existing structure. And the addition with the pool area likely would not be practical without exceeding the highest roof ridge line of the principal structure. And staff does not have concerns with the proposed height, as the addition only minimally exceeds the principal structure height where the clear story windows are to be installed, and which should not detract from the curb appearance of the property. In addition, a neighboring property owner notified staff that they are supportive of the proposal, and they feel that it will improve the curb appeal of the property. And staff recommends approval of the variance request to permit an addition exceeding 50% of the principal structure's existing footprint and exceeding the height of the highest roof ridge line of the principal structure at 1720 Sanders Street, with the following condition and finding. The condition is that the total area of all accessory structures, including the attached garage, shall not exceed 1,200 square feet in area. And the finding is that the variance will not be contrary to the public interest, because the addition will be consistent with the architectural style of the existing home and homes in the neighborhood.
All right, thank you. Technical question. Ed?
From what I can tell in this drawing, the existing freestanding garage goes away.
Yes, there's the
essentially
detached garage will be moved to the corner of the property. Right here.
Oh, okay, so there'll be got it. Okay, I don't think I realized that on the.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that earlier.
I guess where I was going with that is that theoretically there's going to be an attached garage that'll be part of this addition.
Correct.
So that would be replacing the existing detached garage. I mean, to some degree, you could almost make the argument that there was this square footage if you included the detached garage in that calculation, and that I guess in my mind, you might not rise above that 50% threshold if you included that garage square footage. Does that make any sense? Are you following my math? Or?
Well, it's still the detached garage.
I know that's how it
yeah.
counts. I guess from a practical standpoint, though, like you're replacing a garage with a garage. Should we really be counting that as an expansion? I don't know. So I guess I'm just curious about that. I didn't realize that was going to be a detached garage at the back.
Other technical questions, Jeff?
Is the additional height, is that in character with the rest of the homes in the neighborhood? We had this issue once before, and we made them change the height of it's only 2 feet higher than, I guess, their existing structure. I'm just asking, is there existing structure within, the houses in that general area or all around it?
It's similar in scale to the other houses in the street.
Yeah, there's some 2 stories. I think as you get towards, what's the street down there? Cross Street? What? No, it's a crossroad as you get towards the crossroad.
Those are 1-stories right around in that area, right?
17th and 18th.
Yeah, if you look on there, 18th, you get down to 18th, you're seeing more 2 stories. I think you see it mostly on the cul-de-sac itself. It's cul-de-sacs, but really it's not out of character. It's not like it's a 2-story structure. It's not like the one on Johnson that you're referring to, where it was significantly out of scale.
Okay. Other technical questions?
Are they actually moving the garage? Is that what you said earlier?
Yes.
To the back corner?
Yep, you can see where it's existing here, and it's being moved to that southeast corner.
City's cool with that?
Yep, meets our codes, right?
Yep,
Right.
as long as they meet the setbacks, which the plan shows it would.
Setbacks in area.
Yep.
Other technical questions? Okay, seeing none, anyone here from the audience to speak to this item today? Come on up, sir.
Dennis Reedinger, 1434 Hazel Street. I just basically wanted to make myself available for any questions. I'm the general contractor on the project. I think the only other pertinent information is the only feedback that we've got from any neighbors is from the neighbor that is directly to the west and is in strong support of this renovation.
Any questions for the contractor? Go ahead, Kathy.
It looks like you started the project before you got this variance.
No. We were going to, and then we went down to planning and zoning, and we got a permit for a portion of the project, and the portion of the project that we're working on now is
all right.
permitted.
Okay,
Correct.
all right.
Any other questions, for Mr. Reedinger? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else here to speak to this item today? Seeing none, back to the commission.
Approve. Second.
Discussion on the motion? All right, call the roll.
Cummings,
Aye.
Prop,
Aye?
Kiefer,
Aye.
Weigert,
Aye.
Ford,
Aye.
Bowen,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Hintz,
Aye.
Wojtek.
Aye.
Motion carried 9-0.
Moving on to item number 4, land disposition of vacant property located at 1805 Jackson Street.
Let me jump in here, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely.
This item has been we've been asked to withdraw the item, or the petitioner himself has asked to withdraw the item. I think you saw, if you read our staff report.
Right.
You read our staff report. We had several concerns about the potential layout on the site. So I think the petitioner in this case has asked us to withdraw it or let it go a certain time, August 1st. So it will be coming back. We're taking no action on this particular item today. I guess my question is, the item.
I didn't put anything in there.
You didn't put anything in there? All right.
We'll get a packet in the mail. That's all right.
Just use this. Like
All right.
this. Looks like
So-
this.
So the item will be coming back. So what I wanted to do is, as the item's going to be coming back, if there's any additional information that you'd like us to include as part of this coming back phase to you, I'd like to take a couple minutes to talk about that. The other thing that I'd also like to let the planning commission know is we've also received communication from adjacent property owner who's now also, or has been also interested in this particular property, so it would be potentially a competing offer out there. That being said, we have the offer on the table right now, the initial offer, that will be coming back. So, from a planning standpoint, what do you want to see coming back towards you on this item that I can't show up on the maps on the board? Yeah.
The staff report was in the packets.
Yeah, we do have a staff report.
Yeah, staff report's in the packets, but, yeah.
Well, I would concur with the staff that we need more information on a lot. We need a more specific proposal, I think. But Kathy, maybe I'm wrong.
Access to the property is gonna be huge. Huge. I am really not quite sure how they're gonna do it. I think you say that they'd have to have,
Come through on these
access
issues.
via the adjacent properties.
Correct.
So it will need to, work well, I think.
So,
I'm somewhat skeptical.
I guess I'd also want to
It's a
know,
lousy,
from your
lousy
standpoint,
site.
if they come back and ask for variances and stuff, are we gonna be likely to do that in a particular area for setbacks and stuff like that? Because 7,500 square feet is not a
not a huge buildable area. I mean, that's
space.
the whole, if you lay out the staff, if you read the staff report, well, I'm glad you guys did.
Yeah.
There's concerns about, and that's why I think the petitioner also looked at it and said, okay, they didn't want to, for this, from the development community, you don't want to put all that time and effort into something that you know is going to fall on deaf ears. So, I think, right now, I think if we're still, if there's any other pauses, anything else that creates a pause, the city should probably get rid of the land, that's really
Yeah.
what this is coming.
What would give me a pause is what Kathy's
Yeah.
talking about, and also, they're sitting there saying, okay, now we need a 15-foot setback instead of a 25.
Which is why we need,
And in this particular area, the high-traffic area, I'm not sure if I'd be willing to do that.
The plan commission, this is not a PD at this point, so anything that would have to go through Board of Appeals, or they have to change it to a plan development classification.
Ed had his hand up.
Zoning is SMU, suburban mixed use.
Ed,
My only question, just from a procedural standpoint, is how we make a land use decision, which is what we are. We're a land use advisory body on a piece of property that has no use, has no site plan, has no access, has no, so essentially what we're being asked for here is the blessing of a disposition. We're being asked to bless the disposition. The disposition is based on the purchase price that will be paid to the city, which is not a land use decision. So I struggle across the board. I struggle with the process here because it doesn't seem like it's going the right direction, I guess, because we don't have the information to make a decision based on any sort of information. The city council doesn't necessarily have the ability to make the disposition because they don't have a recommendation from the plan commission. So we're just kind of in the dark across the board, and I'm not totally sure how you make an educated decision on this. I guess that's my concern.
And I think that's the reason for the right now, the layover to August 1st.
So is that all gonna change between now and August 1st?
Between now and August 1st, I'm assuming that we're going to get a site plan in for this. I'm assuming that the petitioner is going to.
Then that's something we can make a land use decision on. Yeah, okay. I guess I didn't realize that we would have that by then. You're kind of saying, is the development community gonna be happy about, spending money on something that we may not bless, which it sounds like there are some misgivings here. I mean, I guess that's my.
What becomes the highest and best use is the best use of the site. So I think, and the whole reason why we needed to look at that site plan is how well this site integrates into the overall development scheme for the area.
yeah.
Can't do it without a site plan.
So that was the reason for the condition.
And my misgiving here is, like I said, it's procedural, because I'm uncomfortable with the fact that there are city-owned properties that are either on the market or not on the market, and they're just sort of out there, and we don't have a process for disposing of them with any sort of rigor. There's no, you don't have to do X, Y, and Z before you can do something. You can just kind of say, maybe we'll do this, maybe we won't. I don't know. I wish there was a little bit more structure to.
At this point, we're responding to a request, sure.
Mayor Cummings.
It appears from the letter from the attorney that the family or group that wants to buy this is involved in the food business. We make
That's what it's
the
on.
assumption that this would be something to do with food, and more than likely
Well, I think the.
fast food.
Well, I think.
Yeah, it's Domino's Pizza.
So
They
is there-
identified what it is. It's Domino's Pizza.
Is there enough room for that type of operation?
We don't have a site plan, we don't
Until we
have.
see a site plan, until we see a development plan, how it fits, it's hard for that, which is the whole reason why I said, recommend in the staff report that we lay this over. So the petitioner, I think, looked at that and has been dealing with Darlene a little bit. I understand that. I think we're concerned about that. So I think that that'll be the second phase that I'm hoping that you see coming forward. I think the point to get back to the petitioner and anybody looking at this land, it's important that we see how it fits into this overall development scheme in this area. So I think that's the important point coming across. The important point gets back to the petitioner in this case.
IGWTF.
Well, this
So-
particular roundabout too is, all roundabouts are busy in Oshkosh. This one is mind-boggling at sometimes.
It is.
I utilize the Dairy Queen now and then, and I exit right out of the Dairy Queen because I'm afraid I'm going to be totaled. People zooming around the corner. So this
They do
is
fly through
really,
the
it is really a difficult site in terms of traffic.
Which is why we'll grant no access out of the roundabout, just so everybody's clear.
Yeah, but it's really,
There'll be no
the
access.
driveways of these, the
Really?
adjacent
Degree
properties
angle.
are very,
I agree. It's hard, it's just we had to retrofit that situation, you're right.
All right, so we're not voting on anything right now
Nope,
for this,
we're
we're
not.
just having a chat,
That
okay?
is correct.
Then let us move on to item number 5. Review of 2016 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report of the Community Development Block Grant Program. Darlene.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely.
To
This one.
change.
This one. Yep, there, this one.
No, okay, thank you. You guys keep changing things.
Technology changes, Darlene.
Thank you, Darren.
All right.
Okay, it's that time of year again when the city has finished its 2016 fiscal program year for our Community Development Block Grant Program, which runs from May 1st to April 30th of every year. And so now we need to submit our report to the Department of Housing and Urban Development on what we call our CAPER, which is technically showing them how we spent our funds. And as you can see from the chart and the expenditures, between our allocation and our program income, we had over $968,000 plus carryover funds where we spent over $1 million. And we spend those funds on housing rehabilitation, which is mostly owner rehab. We do as many rental rehab projects as we have applicants. We do central city improvements, whether it be acquisition and demolition of slum and blighted properties, or street improvements, streetscaping improvements, public improvements, those types of things. Public service agencies, I'm sure most of you are familiar with those, where we provide funding to local public service agencies that provide direct benefits to low to moderate income individuals. And then administration funds, which also includes funding for the Fair Housing Council's satellite office out of Appleton, and they help administer our fair housing ordinance. And out of all of that, we see our biggest percentage, of course, is housing rehab at 70%. And of course, that's where our low to moderate income expenditures are, so that's where we want most of our expenditures. And then this is just showing our breakout by race, and on the lower table, it shows the income levels, and as you see, 97% of our expenditures are on low to extremely low income individuals in Oshkosh. During the last program year, we did 20 housing rehab projects. Actually, there were 16 of them. 4 were down payment assistance to eligible income individuals. And then we have all the public service agencies that we served 32,700 people. And then the public improvements we did in low to moderate income areas. And those areas, which are low to moderate income census tracts, benefited almost 25,000 people, but technically they serve the whole community. So we are accepting comments on our CAPER until July 26th, and they can either be mailed to me or emailed to me. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Darlene? Go ahead, Jeff.
Can you explain why the general administration is such a high percent of our budget? I mean, we're to almost 12.25%. Wondering what we're getting out of for that, the general administration.
The general
It just seems high when you compare it to.
Right, general administration is paying for a portion of the salaries for the staff that administers the program. And then also the Fair Housing Council, their money comes out of that as well. And also if...
But it's not just...
It's just not admin. No, it's admin and planning.
Yeah, there's
yes.
Program costs,
yes.
sounds like.
Yes. And then if we need assistance from any consultants for different projects, that's usually considered admin and planning costs. So those also come out
Are
of
we
there.
capped at
I was gonna
15%?
say, and that's capped.
20.
20,
We're capped at 20%.
yeah.
It's capped, so.
Yeah, HUD has established caps for each of our categories.
No, I didn't
But
know
yes.
that there's other things in there that are not just administration stuff.
Salary costs,
okay,
yes.
That are other expenses that would normally, under normal business accounting, would be categorized as a different type of expense. All right.
I gotta pay Darren somehow.
I don't come out of there.
Other comments or questions for Darlene?
So they take it out of HUD's funds.
Any other comments or questions? All right, we're not asking for any action here, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Looks like there's a planning director's report,
Yeah, it's a
an
little bit-
hour-long report, I hear.
We'll keep it short, because I kept, those of you who showed up last night,
Yep.
I'll keep this short so you can get into the sweltering. Zoning ordinance update. We have not, we've been working on a number of zoning ordinance updates. We haven't been able to bring them yet to you because with my staffing issues, we're a little bit far behind because the guy who I've charged with writing a lot of it, Brian, is also doing our zoning inspection. Having to fill in some of my, not having a principal planner right now, so. We're gonna get around to them, we're gonna see some hopefully within the next month or so to get something to you. Nothing is really, there's maybe, the ones that are more emergency we'll bring to you if I need to, but we're not in that situation. I'm gonna be sitting down, we are gonna be sitting down with the Home Builders Association on the front facade stuff. We scheduled a meeting with them in like 2 weeks or so to talk with them about getting a better standard there, so we'll be meeting with them. Imagine Oshkosh project, we had that workshop with John. We do have kind of a final draft in that we're looking at the finishing touches, and then we'll start the public process rounds coming up pretty soon on that, so we're eager to get that done along with the corridors plan.
Could I interject?
Sure.
About when would Imagine Oshkosh go on the road?
We're within, oh God.
I mean, roughly,
I'm hoping within in a month, that's what I'm hoping.
and with
Within-
August sometime.
Yeah, I'm hoping in August sometime. But I have a vacation in there, but so we'll try, we'll work around that.
Might be so.
But,
Think
no,
you're-
it's gotta be I want it within the next month, sometime within the next month. It starts making its rounds. But I contacted John today to see what he had, cause I have to have John up here, so it also has to work into John's schedule. Cause he's gonna be doing some of the public
Oh, okay.
workshops and things like that. But what we wanna do is get it out to the draft out to the various committees, landmarks, public arts and beautification, all that, so. It's almost there, it's been a long time, and we can't wait to get it done, so I'm hoping, again, month-ish, that we get it out. Comprehensive plan update, we had a meeting last night, that is going along, we're moving into the land use phase. We have a meeting this week, I got a meeting, I think that's tomorrow or Thursday with Jeff to talk about those land use maps. I wanna get you a really good, big set of land use maps, so we can start looking at, what we need to do to change that map. And look for some of those nonconformities that are out there that we talked about.
I'd asked him last night to look at where we're kind of, I don't want to call it non-conformance, but where, the existing map should be changed. That map was done 20 years ago and things have changed, so we can have Darren identify those first, that we say, hey,
Right.
these are ones that we need to change the land use, instead of us trying to look at this big old map.
Where the land use may not be consistent, and I
It may
think,
not, yeah.
Jeff and I, that's why we have a meeting set up to talk about that. So we'll see, here, I'm hoping to get that out within a week now too, so we get it before our next meeting. Just a big land use map.
When is the next meeting on that? Is that one in 2 weeks?
31st. The land use, I want to take a couple sections on the land use, because to me, that's one of the most important elements of the comp plan. It's one that we use quite a bit. We look at that land use map, and we make zoning and planning decisions a lot based on those maps. So I want to make sure we take a little bit extra time with those maps to make sure they're right.
Can you also get an answer on whether the bike plan was adopted into the comp plan, and is it intent that the Imagine Oshkosh project be adopted,
all these plans I want adopted because it gives them more force through a comprehensive plan. So that's the intent. Then finally, the public hearing process, and I just want to talk a couple minutes about this. When we did our whole zoning ordinance update, I had this vision in mind that we would take kind of the public hearing process and move it from the council to the plan commission, so at the very front end of a potentially controversial project, we would get a lot of comments from the neighbors out, and then we'd react to that and develop a staff report. So the idea was, say for a zone change or conditional use permit, something coming in, we'd have 2 plan commission meetings. One would be a kind of a public hearing or a neighborhood hearing where we'd we'd notice it and invite the neighbors. They'd come in, we'd make just a brief presentation, no recommendations at the time. We'd have a land use proposal, and then the neighbors would come up and state what their concerns are. From that, staff would take a look at it, and we'd be able to write certain conditions based on some of the feedback. Plan commission might see something and want some clarification as we move forward with that staff report. That didn't evolve with how things shook out with the ordinance. I want to get back to that at some point. But there's a way, if there's a way that we can do something like that, like if somebody's coming in for a comprehensive plan amendment, which is coming up, do you think it would be appropriate that we have some type of public neighborhood meeting where we invite the neighbors in a particular area to talk about a land use proposal? That way I don't have to have that as a separate meeting where nobody, maybe I get 1 or 2 plan commission members showing up, and then we have to repeat the whole thing in the staff report. What I'd like to do is have that before the plan commission. They listen to some of the neighbors. We listen to the feedback together as both staff and the plan commission, and then we come back and formulate a staff report later. That way, if you have any questions in the interim as we're developing the staff reports, you could reach out to us. And the reason I'm asking that is we have a land use amendment coming forward that I was thinking about kind of maybe trying this with. Remember we talked about that stuff on the southwest side, this quadrant in here. David's not here, so he can't react right now. Warsick.
Reacting somewhere. Don't worry.
Watching somewhere.
He's somewhere.
So we have an application in to do a land use amendment in that area. We're not just gonna do a small area. We're gonna do this. We're gonna come up with a land use plan amendment for this whole quadrant. And what I'd like to do is at least invite those property owners in, have a neighborhood meeting so we can get some of that feedback. And then when we go back to bring you the actual proposal, then I think we'll get I'm hoping that we'll get a better product.
Is that in the city?
It's not in the city right now, but it's in our land use area. It's in there because it's going to develop. It'll develop at some point. So the question is the current land use plan appropriate, or is something else appropriate?
So do you bring the town?
I would invite them, but the town, we have a boundary agreement with the town, and that was one of the city expansion areas. So we've had pretty good border relations.
No, I'd just be.
But we do.
Bring them, I mean.
We always, it's standard format for us to let the adjacent towns know. So what are your concerns? Do you see this working?
One thing I have, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No.
Is, can we set a time limit?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. There's nothing that prevents us.
Because I think that is one of the best things we could do, is set a time limit for anyone that comes up to speak. Give them a certain amount of time and stick to it. Because otherwise, if you got 20, 30 people here that want to talk, we're going to be here all night.
All right.
These could spiral out of
30
control.
seconds.
Do you remember
that's
the
the whole
CVS
concern.
public meetings?
Yes, because
Do you remember the neighborhood meetings?
The meetings can go longer, and that's why I'm
2.5 hours.
I'm coming to you with these concerns right now. Kathy?
This would be at our regular plan commission meeting.
Yes.
4 o'clock time.
Yes.
So the 4 o'clock time is problematic for some folks that are working, but.
Problematic for 6 o'clock folks too sometimes,
Yeah,
so
I
it's
suppose
just
so.
All problematic for all.
But the other thing is, would you give us enough information ahead of time? It's a little frustrating,
Yes.
and when you say, we're going to have a land use discussion on, I don't know, the 1,000 block of some street, and you're going, okay, what are we gonna be looking at?
Yes, yeah, we can.
And so there'd be enough specific information that the plan commission could drive around, look at it, investigate it.
No, that's fair. Because we don't always do the workshops, I can tell you that when workshops, sometimes because we're producing that data on the day that we create the workshop, but for something like this, yeah, I mean, it's.
Enough data so
Yes.
that we.
Yep, correct.
Just a broad brushstroke
Yeah, broad
overview
brushstroke.
of what we're gonna be considering, so we can drive out and take a look and.
Right.
see what we think.
The proposal would be X,
Yep.
the current land use is
Yep.
Y, the proposal would be something like
Yeah.
X.
Not a full
The
staff.
beauty is we've done
No,
most
no,
of the
no,
work.
But just,
no.
An idea.
The beauty is we've done most
Direction.
of the analysis for this particular area right now, so we can see how that works.
so
Okay.
would this be, so this would be part of our regular meeting?
Yes,
It would just be like another agenda item?
yeah,
At the end.
At the end.
yes.
So we can leave.
At the
Yeah,
end.
because there'll be no action, action taken.
And all the other people.
Really,
you don't
really,
have to
I want the plan commission and staff to hear the same comments that are coming in, and then us be able to, oh, we missed that, or we gotta put a different condition on, or maybe we shouldn't be making this recommendation. Because right now, it's, we write the staff, we get the application in, write the staff report, and then we have that neighborhood meeting, and sometimes things are coming up at that neighborhood meeting that we didn't envision, or we didn't know. So this gives us a 2-week, kind of a 2-week buffer to figure that out.
But I also think you're gonna end up, even if you get back to what you were talking about before, having, pushing the public meetings for other stuff down to the planning commission, you're gonna end up having a better product going up to the city council.
That's the goal.
Because, you'll have this public comment, you'll have another planning meeting in between that, where we get the staff report off their comments, have another chance for the public to see what we're doing. Then it goes to the city council versus right now, they get it, and they get all this stuff, and they don't have much of a chance to really digest it.
And there's 1,000 people at the meeting waiting to comment.
Yeah, I think this is gonna have you're gonna have a better result. Again, there's gonna be times where we probably wished we'd never done that. But I think you eventually get a better plan for the city and the citizenry.
That's why we're proposing it, and it has an impact on you. That's why I'm telling you, the concerns, the 5-minute, the information, those are all things that we can adjust, but I just want to know that you're okay trying this out, and let's.
Would you do it, just out of curiosity, would you do it maybe after, would you do it like almost the way you do workshop, like post?
Yes.
Or would you do it as part of the open, public part of the meeting? I mean, I don't think it matters one way or the other. I think maybe you have people who are more comfortable with the camera off. You know what I'm saying? Like neighbors who might be more comfortable talking.
I hadn't thought about that. Let me.
I don't know. I don't know that I would have a preference one way or the other, but maybe.
Well, the other good thing about it is, council can.
Yeah. Well, right. You
watch
can
it.
watch it.
Other
It's
people
on the. Everything's on the record. There's nothing that's just sort of, So I.
Debbie doesn't like it because she has to take notes, but.
Does this fall under the-
Let's
does
just
this
make Debbie's
fall-
life easier.
So you're definitely in
Time to
favor of the
retire.
time limit.
Does
Yeah.
this-
Yes.
Does this
All right.
fall under open meeting rules?
Yeah, it's all.
Well, if I mean,
public
yeah,
hearing.
that's what I'm saying. If it's
You
part,
can't
if it's a
do
public hearing,
That's what they're calling it.
Not actually a public, it won't be a public hearing because public hearing.
Neighborhood meeting.
Yeah, something
Neighborhood
like.
meeting.
I'll work on the verbiage.
I don't know that I care one way or the other if it's pre or post adjournment, workshop
we're
or
not
on the agenda.
violating.
But
We're not, we'll be okay. All right, I think I heard you.
all I care is the 5-minute limit.
I think we can try this and we'll see if it works. Hopefully it works great for us and we get a better product.
Because not to put the council down, but this is what we do and they do everything else. I mean,
Like Jeff said, better decisions get made down.
we can nip things in the budget.
All right, is there any other business today, sir? Do we have any,
Motion to adjourn.
To adjourn. Oh,
Second.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you.